So today, God is saying that the opposition against you, as we know, it's not actual human beings, it's Satan fueling the human beings, it's the Satan inside them that's doing this, not them. Yes, okay. God is saying that they think that the prophets that are warning them, myself included, so myself and others have put out these warning messages. And what's weird is that I honestly got these warning messages before the other prophets got them. So like I put out the Isaiah scripture warning about 2-3 weeks ago now on my channel. And I just heard another prophet that I listened to put out like basically the same word with the same scripture today. Then I got another message about diamonds versus cubic zirconias, counterfeits. And I put that word out again 2 weeks ago now. And I just heard another prophet I listened to put out the same word she got from the Lord, basically the same. Hers and mine are basically identical, yesterday. So the words that I'm listening to in the last couple of days are words that the Lord has already given to me and I put out on my own channel like 2-3 weeks ago. So I believe he's using these as confirmation to me, even though I don't need confirmation, because just hearing the message from the Lord alone is confirmation, right? Like just hearing it myself, that's all I need to know. But I believe that not only one, is he giving other prophets the same messages, but two, he's also showing me who the real prophets are, because they're getting the same messages as I am. Because some prophets on YouTube and other platforms are fake, yes. But myself and these other ones that have confirmed this are not, because obviously we're all hearing the same thing. And third, that I know that, what I received was like, it was for sure, it was confirmed, right? So anyway, he's saying that the opposition are listening to prophetic words on YouTube for two reasons. One, they're trying to find out what the God's children, like God's chosen, what they're up to, so that they can try to bypass them and try to set up roadblocks and like try and basically sideswipe them, right? And secondly, it's also so that they can try to find out information as to what's going on in their world, right? Because they think that the messages that like the prophetic messages that are being put out are for them. So if there's a prophetic message talking about how God's chosen are going through spiritual warfare, they just assume, well, I'm going through some stuff, so I'm a God's chosen going through warfare. These messages help me. And it's like, no, you're under God's wrath. These messages will only help you when you've repented wholeheartedly and been saved and delivered. But as long as you work for Satan and you haven't been saved, redeemed, or delivered, these messages don't apply to you. They may seem like they fit because you're under God's wrath, which could seem similar, but it's not. It's totally different. Or say if they're going through some breakup in their life, like a relationship breakup, because they work for Satan and their partner works for Satan, so therefore it doesn't work out, they hear a word put out for God's chosen, specific God's chosen, that, oh, you're getting in a relationship, your prodigal's coming back, things like this. And they assume like, oh, that's for me. I've went through a breakup. No, again, you're not saved. You're not delivered. You work for Satan and your partner works for Satan. So therefore, how would that message apply to you? The 99% of the prophetic messages, if they're in fact true, genuine prophetic, through true prophetic prophets and not fakes, those messages are for God's chosen. If the people that work for Satan want some sort of insight on their life, they go to tarot, right? It's the other side of the fence, and they hopscotch back and forth. They go to tarot and then to prophetic words, then back to tarot, then back to prophetic words. And they think that this gives them an advantage because they're like, well, I'm getting all the info, I'm getting all the messages, I'm getting both sides, but not realizing that this actually just confuses them all the more, and then they're in the same turmoil as they were to begin with, or it's made worse because they've done this back and forth situation, right? It's kind of like if you stick your hand in a bowl of hot water and a hand of cold, or your other hand in a bowl of cold water. Are you hot? Are you cold? You don't know, right? One side's feeling one thing, one side's feeling the other. That's basically what they're doing. So anyway, when they listen to these prophetic messages, they're getting this feeling. So when myself and other true prophets, we're all on the same timeline right now, where God is telling all of us to put out messages about wrath coming and warnings and things of the such, right? About judgment and all this. And so they've heard that all along, but they only heard it like here and there. And their remedy was to just go, oh, well, they're a false prophet. They're not real. They're fake. I don't need to listen to them, and basically just chuck it out the window because they didn't give it the reverence, like the prophet, the reverence they deserved. So now, because they've done that for so long, God's not playing. He's went full out, and he's told like pretty much all the prophets to put out this same message, because not because he's necessarily on their side per se. He's just trying to cover, like he's trying to do what he can to help them, because he knows they listen to prophetic messages. So even though they don't apply for them, he knows they listen to them. So he's trying to use it as a vessel to try to like get through to them of their salvation. And it's kind of like, he's like, well, you didn't listen to, my first 2-3 prophets put out these words. So therefore that's fine. I'm going to get 10-15 prophets to put out the word. So he's trying to use that, like he's grasping for straws with them to try to do what he can, right? But he says, so in the past, when he had 2 or 3 prophets put out the word, they just chucked it out the window, chucked it in the trash, and wrote those prophets off as that they're fake and they don't know what they're talking about. So now when all the prophets as a collective are putting out the same message, he's saying that their remedy for that now is to say, instead of, well, first they still think that these are false prophecies from false prophets when they're not. And well, some of them are, but not all of them. And second, he's saying that their remedy to counteract this is to just assume and say to themselves, oh, you think you're better than me. See, you're not of God, or we're the same. You're not of God. I'm not of God. I sin, you sin, we all sin, all humans sin. So therefore, who are you to judge me? Who are you to tell me? It's hard to explain. So like when the messages were first being put out to them as a warning, they heard it, but they just threw it out the window and chalked it up to that those were false prophets and the message didn't apply to them. They were above it. So then God went one step further and united his prophets so that they're kind of being inundated with the same message now. He's took it up a notch and thinking that might work, but no, instead their new defense is to sit and say that the prophets that are putting these messages out are full of pride. They themselves are sinful because they think they're better than other people. They don't know, we're all in the same group. You're not better than me, whatever. Just think like that kind of a I can't go into it because I don't think that way, right? So it's hard for me to really describe it, but I'm just going off of what God's told me, that this is what God is saying that they're doing at this time, is that they're writing it off just like they were before. But the excuse this time is that the prophets that are putting out these messages, not only are they fake, but now they're full of pride. They're trying to judge. They're trying to play God. They're trying to tell them, hey, if you don't do this, you're not going to be saved, da, 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 da. They, again, don't understand that these prophets that are putting these messages out aren't doing this for their own health. They're doing this because God they've been redeemed, saved, and delivered. And because of that, God is using them as vessels to try to redeem, save, and deliver others. Of course, God does the redeeming, the saving, and the delivering, but he's using his prophets to try to relate to them on a relatable level, human to human, so that maybe they can understand, right? Like God's like, well, you didn't listen or follow when I gave you a whisper, so let me shout, right? So he's really trying to get their attention, but instead of it working out in their favor, they instead are trying to say that this is all just pride and all this, and basically still once again write it off, right, in their own way. So therefore, God's just saying that, for one, it's going to keep escalating. Obviously, we already know this. And for two, just be prepared for that these oppositions, these opposers, they're being ran by Satan, which you already know, but the pride in them is so strong that even when they're hearing prophets taking out their time and energy to put out these warnings from God to help their own opposers, the opposers are sitting there throwing it back at them and trying to say that they're the prideful ones because they think they're better than them or something like that. And no, you aren't better than them. You're just saved and they're not. And that's the difference.